Hi there, I'm Shaun Bindley and this is Meet the Ministers. My guest on the program this evening is Andrew Bartlett. Andrew, welcome.
Thanks very much.
First of all, tell me why this return to politics. You've been out of it for a couple of years now. You're standing for the position of Lord Mayor in the upcoming council elections here in Brisbane. Why the decision to come back?
Well, I guess when I finished up in the Senate in 2008, it was 2007 election, but in the Senate you stick around until your term runs out, so I had sort of 6 months as the sort of the ultimate lame duck really, because it wasn't just, I'd lost my seat, but the whole party had lost all its seats and basically been wiped out, which is not a fun experience, frankly. And it was pretty bruised by the whole experience in lots of ways. Felt, well, I'd take a break from all that. I'm still very strongly interested in social issues and working with people to make them realise they can make a difference in whatever they do in life. So I just explored doing different things, and a lot of community organisations, some of them paid work, some not. And I guess over time I just kept feeling, you can do valuable stuff whatever area you focus on, but so many things keep leading back to Parliament and to the political arena, and rather than do all the work outside and just hope that things work out in there.
Leave it up to somebody else once it gets to that point.
Yeah, I guess I felt like I can make more impact of value back in the party political arena, not necessarily in the Parliament, although quite happy to get elected. I'd love to be elected as Lord Mayor at City Hall. I think make a huge difference to the way Brisbane operates as a council and to the city of Brisbane, but it's not just about getting elected, it's about making an organisation work more effectively and supporting the people within it, about letting them know how they can help make a difference.
Have you enjoyed your time out of politics? Did you miss it? It was a bruising experience, as you say. I mean, it must have been some relief to actually be out of it once that kind of the pain eased.
Oh, but particularly that final, the end of the Democrats, as people, I don't know, it's a while back now, a lot of people might forget, but it was pretty long, slow, but pretty, unstoppable demise over quite a number of years, almost over 2 electoral cycles. So that was very grinding, and you did all we could to stop it dying. But that's what happened, and to sort of finally have it over with, whilst it was very sad in lots of ways, was a bit of a relief of like, oh, at least get out of that and step out of that and look at what else to do. And there's lots of things about it I don't miss even now being back involved with it. Frankly, there's lots of things about party politics, electoral politics I don't like. I think a lot of the nature of the debate's really facile, even when it's not being aggressive and abusive. I think it's pretty shallow, and I think it's unnecessarily divisive and not involving of the community. So ironically, there's actually a lot I don't like about it, but you can't separate out. You can't just do the bits you really like and say, oh, I'll work on this bit. It's all part of a whole. It's like most areas of activity, there's good bits and bad bits, and you've got to take the whole package.
In your time out of politics, it seemed in a lot of ways that you actually returned to what you were doing before you got into politics. You're back working at Triple Z, you've been doing some work there, you're even doing an on-air shift, you're playing a little bit of music. You continue to have those things to bring that, I guess, for want of a better way of describing it, to bring that good stuff back into your life, that kind of those things that define you and keep you grounded.
Well, I guess particularly with music and Triple Z and community radio is something I really missed. I really felt like I lost touch with music, the music scene, what was happening locally, and even playing in a band. Not that I dabbled in that. It's probably the best way of describing it. And when you're just too immersed in other stuff, you just can't connect with it enough. So the opportunity to reconnect with that on a regular basis, I've found really rewarding. I did a lot of 2008 when I finished in the Senate, I sort of dabbled the whole thing. I'll try this and this, and get this committee and this group. And actually the sole thing that I tried out in 2008 that I'm still doing now is the Triple Z shift. So, which is interesting. I don't psychoanalyse too much about why that might be. Felt a bit like a pretend Peter Pan for a little while. All these, the guy that came on after me in the mornings was like 19 or something, and it was this sort of grey-bearded old guy sort of going, oh yeah, I remember back in 1982. Sort of made you feel a bit old a lot of the time, but over time, it's a great place. It is really, I think actually even more so than the 80s, it's less cliquey, it's much more welcoming of all sorts of people of all ages, and I really like it, and I really admire the station. I think it's just such a fabulous institution. So it's pretty old itself these days, 37, 36, 37 years, so it's a great thing, and I'm just very proud to be able to support it.
And a very important part of Brisbane life for many people in many ways, like you say, back in the 70s and 80s, and it's had its ups and downs. But,
yeah.
You know, it's a station, like you say, that has something for everybody, and it's not restricted to a youth market or an alternative market the way it may have been perceived in the past.
That's right. I mean, it's it's a niche, and it's like more community radios and community TV. It's it's not mass market, mass mainstream, but for the people that it seeks to provide value to and a voice to, I think it's incredibly valuable. In fact, if it wasn't, it wouldn't have survived. As you know, it's a struggle for community radio, community broadcasting in general, and you just can't survive unless you've actually, the community you're trying to broadcast to supports you. I mean, they've just done a fundraising thing for a new transmitter over the last month, raised $40,000, with a demographic that's not particularly well off, who's continually being asked, we need your support. So that to me is a sign that it's producing something of value continually, and which I think it does, but it's great to see it reaffirmed.
Does that see the future of Triple Z in the short term?
Oh, well, it's an endless struggle. I mean, I was involved much more heavily on a day-to-day basis back in the 80s, and actually as a financial coordinator for a while. It's always going to be tough, and it's not just about the money though. It is about the people and the support it provides people, the training, the skills it provides to people, the confidence it provides, not just to young people. Some of the particular shows, the prisoners show that it still does now, that for most other people's not their prime listening hour or two of the week. The music that's played that prisoners request, a lot of your average Triple Z listeners sort of wouldn't be their gig, but it's really valuable for the people that it's there for, and in some ways shows like that are actually most valuable for people that are most needing a connection. So I think that's the sort of thing that's one of the reasons why I find it important to support and to promote, to tell people about it, why it's good. It's not just this sort of thing that plays some cool music.
Well, it's harder and harder these days. I mean, there's never been a harder time for independent bands to get their music onto not just the commercial stations, but Triple Z, for example. It provides a conduit for the listening audience and something to aspire to for young musicians. Well,
I think context of Brisbane and South East Queensland more broadly enough, I think of back what Triple Z in the 80s, it was based at UQ. A lot of people thought it was just a student radio just because it was at the uni, even though it wasn't. But it was up until the mid-80s, I think, it was the only FM station. It was the first FM station in Queensland. Triple J wasn't national at that stage. There was obviously no online music or radio or downloads, to now where you can get stuff from everywhere. Specialty stuff online from wherever you like, but it's still, for local people, local artists, not just bands, but, artistic, cultural people, particularly just starting out, just to get a chance to get your music played, to have a chat on air, to play a few gigs, to get people to promote your shows. It's that incubator, that I think is in some ways almost more valuable now than it was then, because it's easy to get lost in the crowd. So to have something that, and to me that's one of the key. Every show's different, but I tend to try and play sort of 60-70% of my stuff is sort of local music, and there's so much of it around. I can't keep track. It's enough to keep track of what's coming out with local bands, let alone worrying about what's happening in Scotland or whatever.
It's hard to find the time to actually do the listening that's required these days, isn't it?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You're watching Meet the Ministers. My guest on the program this evening is Andrew Bartlett, and we'll be back after the break.